Now, Italians across the world, Italian teams, the Italian division, when you think of Italians and football, you automatically think of defending. Defending to high class, to high efficiency. The masters of defending are the Italians. When you think about the Dutch, the Netherlands, you think about total football, geometry, shapes, ball possession, retention, football that's fancy on the eye. When I think of Thiago Motta, I found a way to combine them. When I think of Thiago Motta, I think of the two. Juventus remain unbeaten. They came up against the team which was unbeaten the whole of last year in PSV. They come up against the team that's unbeaten in the Dutch league this year in PSV. A team that has scored goals for fun in PSV. But Thiago Motta's men, and I mean this by no exaggeration, dismantled them. They made it look easy. They made them look like they were no match for them as Juventus begin their Champions League campaign with a 3-1 victory over PSV. It was beautiful. At times, the football I was watching, I couldn't believe. This is football that I haven't seen Juventus play in nearly a decade. But before we dive into it, before I give special shout outs to some players that caught my eye, if you're new, make sure to subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Make sure to like. But as always, I love to hear what you guys have to say. Make sure to comment. So let's get into the video. Now, Juventus, as always, Thiago Motta's Juventus, they start off games in a 4-2-3-1 shape. The main change from the game against Empoli was Douglas Luiz being phased out for Weston Mckennie. Now, everybody's thinking, Juventus against Empoli, it was a little bit underwhelming. It was a little bit toothless in attack. But as always, a defensive masterclass. Today, it was an offensive masterclass. And I'm pretty certain if Juventus didn't make some changes, bearing in mind Napoli on the weekend, they could have scored 4-5. But where did Thiago Motta get it right today? If you sat down and watched the game, you're probably thinking the same thing as me. That left-hand side, and I'm not talking about Kenan Yildiz alone. No. I'm talking about Cambiasso. I'm talking about Coop Miners. Because 4-2-3-1, from what you can see. Now, of course, in possession, Juventus transition into a 3-2-5. Now, look at that left-hand side. So you've got Coop Miners playing as that interior, playing as that connector between Dusan Vlahovic, between Kenan Yildiz, and then you've got Cambiasso slotting right behind them. That trio ran circles around PSV. What that trio done to PSV for 60 minutes, for a whole hour straight, it should be documented. It should be documented. It should be studied. Now you're probably sat thinking, why? What did they do? The one thing I loved about this trio the most, and in particular, Coop Miners and Kenan Yildiz, who in my opinion had flawless performances. They were interchanging. How many times in the beginning of the game did you see Kenan was the one who was playing in that interior position? Kenan was the one who was playing in behind Dusan Vlahovic, whilst Coop Miners was on the left-hand side, a position that he's very familiar with from his time at Atalanta. 5 minutes later, let's rotate. Coop Miners, you go into the centre, provide that box presence, whilst Kenan Yildiz, the pace, the dynamism, electrifying. Kenan Yildiz will go down to the left-hand side. They kept rotating with one another, and PSV couldn't find an answer to it. And on top of that, you had Cambiasso. Cambiasso was all over the pitch. Sometimes in the centre providing support. Sometimes out wide providing support, just like how we will touch on the goal. But that trio caused a lot of damage to PSV. But let's get into the goals. Now, it's only right to start off with the first goal. Now, if you've watched me over the past few months, you'd know how much of a fan of Kenan Yildiz I am. But the kid is special. The kid is stardust. It's fitting that he wears Del Piero's number shirt. It's fitting that he celebrates like Del Piero, and it was written in the stars. He breaks Del Piero's record on his Champions League debut, becoming the youngest player for Juventus to score in the Champions League. But looking at the goal, just look at it. He receives the ball out wide, and I've mentioned this many times before, how smart this kid is for a 19-year-old. Receives the ball out wide. Now, the one thing about Kenan Yildiz is he's dynamic. He's dynamic. He's fearless. Every single time he receives the ball, he wants to take on his man. He wants to take the game to the opposition. He receives the ball. He knows where the space is, and he knows he wants to attack that space. Now he starts charging forward. Now you can clearly see, as soon as he takes his first touch of the ball, you can see on the screen, who is this one player that is committed to joining in this attack, committed to helping his teammate, committed to getting forward? Cambiasso. And look at the distance between the two, because that's the amount of ground that Cambiasso has had to cover. Team player, Kenan Yildiz receives the ball, carrying it forward. Cambiasso is getting closer. Cambiasso knows, any minute now, my teammate is going to be faced on with two opposition defenders. I need to drag one of them with me. How do I drag them with me? By making an overlapping run. Now, it doesn't matter whether I get the ball or not, and you can clearly see, because Kenan only cuts inside once Cambiasso overlaps him. Look at the defender. The defender is at a crossroads. He doesn't know what to do. Do I follow Cambiasso or do I follow Kenan Yildiz? Because on another day, Kenan Yildiz makes the pass to Cambiasso and Cambiasso is in. And everybody looks at the defender and says, why didn't you follow Cambiasso? You leave the opposition guessing. Cambiasso helped Kenan Yildiz in that goal so much by being unselfish, by making that run to create the space for his teammate. And then, after Kenan Yildiz cut inside, it was stardust. It was amazing. This is high-class efficiency. This is a player playing football at the top of his game to cut inside and place it into the top corner, to open your body up, wrap your foot around the ball, and then wrap it into the top corner. It is a special goal by a special player. But everybody's going to focus on the goal. This kid, off the ball, I think only Juve fans realize this, the amount of work this kid puts on the ball. He's everywhere. Helping the fullback, he's there. Helping the midfielders in the center of the park, he's there. Helping the players in attack, he's there. The kid, the amount of work he puts in. He's fearless on and off the ball. He's tenacious. He's aggressive. He's technically secure. And on top of everything, he is an entertainer. And there's a reason why he has the number 10 shirt. But it was an amazing performance. Now, a player that I want to shout out, because in my opinion, he had a stardust performance, is Koopmeiners. Now, it was the ongoing saga of the summer. Juventus won. Koopmeiners arrives. The expectations, the pressure. It's time to deliver. This is only his second start for Juventus, but today, he was amazing. In the beginning, I touched on him interchanging with Kenan and how it brings something different to this Juventus team, because they're two different players. So utilizing them in two different positions is an advantage. But when we look at the third goal, it just summarizes Koopmeiners' game. His commitment to Thiago Motta, his commitment to Juventus, his commitment to the fans. You look at this, PSV playing out of the back. The ball goes to the left-hand side. Look at the player initiating the press. Down Juventus' left-hand side, Koopmeiners. Initiating the press, putting pressure, forcing the opposition to keep the ball moving. You fast forward a few seconds where Juventus win the ball back. Guess who wins the ball back from the centre? Koopmeiners. So from initiating the press down the left-hand side, he didn't just press and stand still and give up. No. He wanted to help his team get the ball back. He initiated the press down the left-hand side, but he continued moving. He continued following his man. He continued applying pressure, and eventually he wins the ball in the center of the park. He passes it to Kenan. Now, Kenan, for me, he's too intelligent for a 19-year-old. He receives the ball. Now, you can clearly see, as soon as Kenan receives the ball, he knows, I'm about to be pressed by two players. So what do I want to do? They teach this in the Spanish side of the game. It's one of Pep Guardiola's key principles, which is when you receive the ball, wait for the opposition to initiate contact. Wait for the opposition to get close to you. The closer they get, the bigger the gap becomes from your teammate. As soon as he sees both of the opposition players attempting to press him, attempting to tackle him, that's when he releases the ball. Now, the distance between them and Dusan Vlahovic is massive. And that's why Dusan Vlahovic had the time. He had the space. He had the vision to scan the entire pitch when he could have passed it inwards. But he decided, let me put on it, or it was a beautiful pass. Let me curve this ball around PSV's defense and put Nico Gonzalez one-on-one with the keeper. And then the first touch was amazing. The finish, the composure. It was a beautiful goal. But it was a goal that resembles Thiago Motta football. From players being committed to the press, players not giving up, players being smart in possession, and then having that killer edge in front of goal.